Matt Schaefer has the wrong perspective on this, then I'd like to know that. I want to hear from them in a public setting, and we'll see what happens.
A KXAN investigation uncovered more than $8 million in temporary pay raises for one state agencies. Raises given out while millions of Texans were losing their jobs and the state's economy was taking a pretty big hit because of the pandemic.
These raises came in the form of hazard duty pay. That's something state law usually designates for law enforcement. But KXAN investigator Jody Barr found the Texas Department of Transportation spent millions on civilian employees. And now a Texas lawmaker is demanding answers from Txdot.
It's a race to save these homes before it's too late.
There's a lot of people that live in very substandard housing.
These pictures show the shape of some East Texas homes before a $3 million state grant saved them. Habitat for Humanity in Tyler has used that taxpayer-funded grant to save hundreds of homes belonging to poor and disabled Texans. Organizers fear state budget cuts could slash this grant from $3 to $1 million.
At that point, that just puts them on a waiting list, and at that point, the problems with their house just get worse.
Raymond Gideon's the construction manager for that group. He says he's already gotten word from the Capitol cuts are coming.
It's less costly to society to allow these people to live in their homes. And at that point, when they can no longer live in their homes, where do they go? They have no place to go. My plea to them would be use some common sense.
Representative Matt Schaefer's a member of the House Appropriations Committee. He knows he's got tough money decisions to make in January and told Gideon that the day of this interview. Schaefer got a tip in May that Txdot had given what he calls pay raises to employees. He asked Txdot about it and got this letter. It shows since the pandemic started in mid-March, Txdot spent more than $8 million in hazard pay.
I actually talked to other members of the committee who had not heard about it. And so it was done very, very quietly, which, makes me wonder what the true purpose of it was. I don't know of any other state agency that provided hazard pay like this.
And we couldn't find one either. We filed requests with 7 other state agencies where workers could likely be at higher risk of exposure to contracting the coronavirus because of the nature of their jobs. None of those agencies paid a dime in pandemic-related hazard pay. Not even the state's prison system, where more than 18,000 workers and inmates tested positive, and 14 workers died. The latest death was just 3 days ago.
When we're balancing priorities in the state budget and how to use these tax dollars in the middle of an economic crisis, I just don't understand how any member of the legislature would vote to say, we're going to give extra hazard pay to Txdot workers outside and not correctional officers working inside a prison where they actually have serious COVID problems.
Txdot would not agree to an interview to explain the decision to spend these tax dollars. In a prepared statement, the agency said the payments went to employees working the front lines to ensure our main transportation corridors were operational. Just 10 days after Schaefer found out about the payments, still in the height of the pandemic, Txdot ended the hazard duty payments.
If the risk was justified in March, April, and May, then the risk should be justified in July. Maybe they have looked at the rationale behind this and says it doesn't make sense. It's not going to hold up to public scrutiny.
Do you consider this waste and abuse of tax dollars?
I consider it a lack of respect for how we go through a process to allocate tax dollars. This is not how we should be handling money in the middle of a crisis.
Well, Txdot told me these payments stopped on June 1st because the state was reopening from the pandemic shutdown. Txdot spokeswoman also said the spending helped road projects get started sooner and finish quicker. We have a list of all of those Txdot projects on our website at kxan.com. Representative Schaefer told me getting Txdot leaders here in front of his committee at the Capitol is one of the first things he'll do when the legislature gets back here in January. From the Capitol, Jody Barr, KXAN Investigates.